Hello guys, gals, and non-binary pals. Welcome to another video by the Continuing Life System. Today I'm going to be talking to you about BDSM, the basics. Please note that some of these topics are quite broad and will be discussed more in depth at a later time. Now, let's get started. Before we begin your BDSM journey, it's important that you conduct your own research about the lifestyle as a whole and also research before beginning any type of play. Two acronyms that our community uses is one, RAC, Risk Aware Consensual Kink, and SSC, Safe, Sane, Consensual. Notice how both of these have consensual in the name. This is because consent is a must. If it doesn't include consent, then it's not BDSM and is kind of under abuse and or rape. As we spoke about in our intro to BDSM video, which we will link somewhere here or in the description box below, the foundation of any and all BDSM encounters is trust, communication, and consent. If any of these are missing, please run. Now, let's get into more of the basics. At the beginning, there is what is known as a dominant and a submissive. I mean, sounds easy enough, right? However, there's someone we're missing. Someone who is somewhere in between the two. A switch. Now, the dominant. They can be male, female, trans, non-binary, etc. They are the ones who take on their responsibilities. They make the rules with help from their submissive. They enforce these rules, and they can be addressed in many different ways. They may even have more than one title, even. And I've kind of listed some examples down below. But the important piece is that this title that you use, or that they use, is agreed upon by the dominant and the submissive. Now, however, this is the big red note that you see. If they demand that you use a title before any type of discussion, demand your submission before getting to know you and your limits, then they are not, repeat, not a true dominant. A true dom will be patient. They'll get to know you specifically and your needs before implementing anything. Now, the submissive. Again, like the dominant, they can be male, female, trans, non-binary. They give up the control to their dominant. It is a power exchange. This is something I will go over in another video. So don't worry if you're a little confused. The submissive follows the rules that they set with their dom. And they too can be addressed in many different ways. And again, they could have more than one name or title. Some people don't realize that, like the fake dom, there are what is known as fake submissive. This could be someone who, quote unquote, tops from the bottom and, well, really isn't into BDSM. Some will even tell you that they aren't into BDSM. They just want the sex. And the only problem is they want the sex, but it kind of has to be their way or no way. This is not a submissive. And finally, the switch. A switch is someone who is both submissive and dominant. This means that they can literally switch between the roles. Kind of cool, right? Some are more dominant, while others are maybe a little more submissive. Now, with this, it can get kind of complicated. Some switches have partners who are also switches, because while one is in a dominant space, the other can be in a submissive space, and it works, and vice versa. However, others have multiple partners. One for when they're feeling dominant and the other for when they're feeling submissive. This tends to happen whenever they can't see their partner in that other role. Like even if they are a switch, they just can't see them, being submissive, or they can't see them being dominant. Or their partner isn't a switch and literally can't get into that other mindset. All are perfectly fine and part of the community. So no one go and try to say that they're not valid. All of these are valid. Now, the scene, the nitty-gritty of what everyone assumes BDSM is the interaction between the dominant and submissive. Here is just kind of an outline that I'm going to use to kind of break down what's involved in the scene. Some pieces are more self-explanatory and don't really need an explanation. However, others need a little more explaining and maybe a couple examples, to which those will kind of get their own slide to kind of help explain. Now, let's dive in. Step 1, do your research. I cannot express this enough. Do your research on the lifestyle itself, the types of DOMs and subs, which we will cover in another video later on, the types of play, again, another video topic for another time. And with each type of play, you then have to ask yourself, what are the risks? Like, are there any at all? If there are any, what can I do to either A, stop them or minimize them? And if there are risks involved, like how do I treat them? And any other question that you can think of. Step 1 is literally just research everything you can. Step 2, now that you've done all of your research, it's time to negotiate between you and your dominant. Who will be included in the scene? Just you and your partner? Maybe 2 DOMs and you? Maybe it's your DOM, you, and another sub. What types of play are you going to use? This step is kind of here to help prepare you and your dominant for what will be in the scene. However, it also goes back to give you more time to research if you haven't done so already, or if you've had questions or concerns come up that you and them need to discuss and figure out. Next, you have what's called safe words or safe gestures. These are things that are used to end the scene. It can be a word like your most common red for the red light system. Or if the submissive maybe can't talk, they're deep in subspace, but they need to stop the scene for whatever reason, they can snap their fingers. Or if they have a bell in their hand, they can drop it. Just anything that ends the scene. Here, I kind of put a picture of the safe words that me and my partners use. And they're not just for me. They're for my partners too. DOMs are people too. They can have bad days and something might happen during the scene that they feel like they need to stop. Now, not every DOM uses this. This is just what we do. And this is what we kind of teach people who are new to the lifestyle. Remember, this is a relationship and communication is key. So what most people know, green, good, keep going. Yellow, I'm okay. Orange, okay, I'm uncomfortable. Amber, kind of between orange and red here. I'm uncomfortable and we definitely need to change something before I say red. Red, we all know it. Stop. No questions. We need to start aftercare, sit down, and talk about what happened and what we need to do. We have recently added the last 2 at the bottom. Blue means I'm crying, and it's not something we were quite expecting, but it's okay. Like, I'm still good and we can still continue. And black, as we've mentioned in this channel before, I suffer from anxiety and depression. And sometimes during a scene, like, they can get bad. And I just need to hear them say that I'm doing a good job or whatever. I just need some reassurance. If you like these, please feel free to use them. or kind of use them as a template for you if you're starting out in this lifestyle. Now, limits. Everyone has them. Some limits are small enough that they can still kind of do them. They're just not super comfy with it, while others are flat out no. Both of which are perfectly fine. The biggest piece is that it's important to note where this lies on your limits. That way, neither of you cross any unwanted boundaries. And finally, aftercare needs. Now, I've kind of listed some examples like having something to drink, maybe a shower, but the main thing I want you to understand is that aftercare is anything that you need in order to come back down after a scene and relax. I also just want to put a quick note here and mention that some people act like aftercare is just something that a dom does for their sub after a scene. This is incorrect. Aftercare is for the dom and the sub. The dom went through the scene with you, so don't be afraid to check in on them. Maybe get something to eat together. Snuggle up. Whatever it is that you need, whatever it is that the dominant needs, whatever you both need together. Step 3. Review the plan that you just made. This is where you either A, agree 100% and are good to go, or B, you have some questions or concerns and need to revise. You can literally repeat steps 1 through 3 as many times as needed until you both agree on the plan. That way you can then move on to step 4, having fun and actually implementing the plan, like actually doing the scene itself. And finally, step 5, once you've finished that planned scene, you move into aftercare, which was discussed during that negotiation process, which means when you're all exhausted, you already know the plan. You don't have to like make it up on the fly. So as you kind of see, creating a scene is not simply, hey, let's go do this. It takes time, research, and discussion from all involved. And that pretty much sums it up what we're going to be talking about in this video. If you liked it, please feel free to hit that like button. And if you want to hear more from us, hit that subscribe button and ring that bell so you can get notified whenever we post next. Thank you so much for coming and listening to me discuss some of the basic terms and basics of BDSM. I hope you enjoyed. And remember, stay safe and stay kinky.